Welcome to another BeLive show. Today I'm super excited. I have a car guy and friend, Jake Dunks-Campbell, with me. Jake, how are you, buddy?
I'm great, Brian. How are you doing today?
Super cool, except for all the snow that's coming down, but hey, it is the city we live in.
That's right.
All right, so as I start off every interview, some of the audience may know you, some of the audience may not know you, so just give us a little background on who you are and how you got to where you're at.
Yeah, thank you for having me on here first and foremost. Kind of a quick 30,000 foot above perspective about me. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, a native of the South Hills area, and now I'm a member of a downtown community. I have a job, as Brian mentioned, at Automotive Porsche, soon to be Porsche Pittsburgh, hopefully. And that organization, I do sales and finance as well. A lot of you might know me through my time with Audi, which I had previously to Porsche. And you probably might see me out at some of the local bars and getting tacos in the area. So it's kind of a little roundabout about me.
Super cool. So how old are you again?
I am going to be turning 26 on Saturday, actually.
Ooh-wee. Look out. A lot of good guys born in February, as I am the 23rd. So happy birthday. Happy birthday coming up.
Well, Brian, thank you. I appreciate it.
So, I mean, being that young, how the heck did someone of your age get involved in the luxury automotive sector?
Good question. So ultimately, it was something that was actually a backup plan for me. I went to school for business administration, and as a lot of guys that are my age, and girls, I should say, they're often hit with a brick wall of trying to get a job right out of school, typically because we're either unprepared or we weren't really expecting the job market to be so competitive. So I actually got a job at Audi Pittsburgh when it first opened up. I started working there after a career of applying for jobs nearly for 3 months, and decided to try my hand. I've always been a car guy. I've always been around dealership when I was younger, just like Brian is, and I've always wanted to do something with cars. Thought it was going to be a temporary job, but ended up really liking it and ended up having a good time. And through a lot of trials and tribulations, I ended up being pretty decent at it. So it evolved into a 4-year career. It's going to be 4 years this June. So I'm excited to see where it takes me, but it's been a fun ride so far.
Oh, I would say you're more than just a little good at it. I think you're great at it. What a dream job. Yeah, what a dream job for, I mean, as a young, and that's how I kind of got into the exotic cars is, as a young boy, you have those posters on the wall, kind of like you have right now behind you, actually.
Right.
To be able to get into that job it's got to be mind blowing. So that kind of leads me to my next question is how did you and I get connected anyway?
So it was actually through a person that I knew at the dealership that I work currently, but I did not work there. He was a photographer of yours, and we got connected. It's pretty interesting, the real estate connection though between cars and houses. Cars are always the second biggest purchase behind a house in someone's life. But you'd be surprised at how often people buy cars right after they buy or sell their house, or even right before. I'm always surprised to hear when people are having a child, buying a house, getting a car, and then another person is graduating from college. People are very savvy when it comes to change. So I think that when they go to buy a house, they kind of think of replacing that old raggedy car that they've been in for the last 5 or 6 years to get something new to go in that new garage. So it's a really tight connection, and I want to say probably 60 or 70% of the time when someone buys a new car, or even a used car for that matter, they've probably looked at a house or sold their house in the last 6 months. That's what I've usually seen. So a very interesting connection.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'm just glad they all buy the car after the house. Sometimes we have those people that try financing the car during the home purchase.
I'm usually the guy that gets the tail end of that. They have to tell me they have to hold on to their car purchase for 3 months while I'm trying to sell them a car. It's totally normal, but we have to kind of damper our expectations a little bit while they're going to buy the house from you. So pretty interesting stuff.
So I'm probably to blame. I have a negative impact on the amount of money they could spend at the Porsche dealership.
That's exactly right. They don't want their credit check so they can buy that, that expensive house and bite off more than what they can actually chew.
Right. They may come in at like $400,000. I'm like, no. You could get this $800,000 house. Forget that Porsche.
Yeah, exactly. You got it.
Well, it kind of leads me to my next question is, how do you feel that real estate and the car business are kind of tied together other than, they need to buy a garage attached to a house?
Right. So aside from, people that have a lot of cars and they need to get more garage space, it's also along the lines of people, again, they want to get something new to complete their purchase with the house. So usually a person that's been living in a house or an apartment and they get that first new house, sometimes they have a little bit leftover budget where they're able to go get a car. And it's pretty, let's just say it goes hand in hand. More so when I was with Audi because typically with other brands like Chevy, Nissan, whatever, cars are more of utility. So people are buying those cars just because they need to get from point A to point B, and now they can choose their color and maybe get a little bit nicer of an option. But when you're looking at brands like McLaren and Porsche and Aston Martin, it's more of an objective-based brand where they've always wanted to have that car, and it's more of a luxury. So they don't need to have that car. It could be their third or fourth car, or they could just be replacing their daily driver. So a lot of times we do see people that are consolidating cars. They have a big truck and they have maybe a sports car, and they're getting maybe a more sportier of an SUV to combine the two, so that they're able to live in their house and fit both cars in the garage rather than having to scrape the ice off the windshield every January morning. So it definitely is an interesting dynamic, and we certainly hear it all. As car salespeople, we're almost like therapists, financial advisors, a little bit of friendly advice sometime here and there. So you definitely hear it, and especially when it comes to housing.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure. I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand. You get a bigger house, you have that Porsche or Audi or whatever. It's people that aren't really making ends meet. I mean, they kind of have a little bit of extra money. So tell me, what are a few exciting things that you guys are working at the Porsche dealership, if you can let us in on any secrets?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that are going on that I have to keep under wraps, but some of the things that are out there right now for Porsche strictly are the new 911 that's coming out. The 911 is a car that's historically very conservative in terms of changes, where every time there's a product change, the general idea and the general philosophy about that car changes the same. It stays the same, I'm sorry. But with the new changes coming out, new technology, it's a very exciting time for Porsche because traditionally we've been a very analog brand, but now we're incorporating tech, and we're now going to be at the precipice of a lot of these companies with the tech we're rolling out in our cars. We also have our first electric car coming out as well, the Porsche Taycan. That's going to be a direct competitor with the Model S, and then we might even potentially be having an electric SUV on the horizon as well. So again, that's very different for a brand like Porsche, where it's all about gas and all about sportiness and all about the drive of the car. Going to an electrical-based setup is going to be an entirely different philosophy of our brand. And altogether, you're seeing all kind of manufacturers that are incorporating more electric components, and they're using more higher-end grade products in their cars just to save weight and also to save costs. So it's a very interesting time right now in the automotive world.
Yeah, a lot of exciting stuff. And as a Tesla owner, I'm really excited for Porsche and Audi and those guys to get on board with the all-electric train.
Yeah, it's going to be some exciting stuff, and then you're going to start to see people that are going to be combating the Tesla for the first time ever. Tesla's never had a direct competitor because you've had brands like Fisker, which are very expensive, and then you also have like the Nissan Leaf, which is more of an economical-based option. So when you have a direct competitor to Tesla, it's going to be some interesting times ahead. So we're very excited for it, and we think the car is going to represent itself well.
Totally cool. I mean, everybody I think is excited for the way technology is changing. So we've all had car buying experiences, myself included. What would be a few recommendations that you could make on the other end to the buyer to make it a little easier for those guys?
I love this question because it really is something I get a lot from friends and family, usually, cocktail hours or something of the sort, where people ask, how do I get a leg up in this industry? How do I make that dealership visit a little bit easier? Because let's face it, behind visiting a lawyer, visiting a dealership is like the second worst thing that a person could ever want to do. But it actually can be pretty fun, and you're starting to see the change from what I call your father's dealership, where you go in on a Saturday with your cup of coffee and you sit down and you haggle for multiple hours just to get out of there with hopefully a good deal. Nowadays, you have price algorithms, and you have different things where you're able to go ahead and shop for the best price or the best car or getting that best deal. So now my recommendations would be to alleviate a lot of that nervousness and that anxiousness before you visit the dealership. It's just to call ahead. If you're interested in a car, it's okay to be transparent about it. Put in an inquiry online, say that you're interested, say, here's my considerations, here's the things that I'm looking for, and here's the things that I'm flexible about. Typically, you're going to get a call back within 15 minutes, all the way up to maybe an hour or two. And a lot of the time, it's younger guys, so you don't have a lot of these older car salesmen that are the prototypical movie car salesmen that are just trying to beat you up all day long. They want to have a good time, and they make a living off of it as well. Typically, the bad situations that I've been a part of are the people that kind of come unsprung at right before we close, and you're kind of caught at a bad time where you're not really able to react. Maybe the car that they came to visit was dirty or it was out of gas, and then they have to wait for that car to get cleaned and get gassed up. But if you call ahead and make an appointment, that car is going to be cleaned. It's going to be waiting at the curb for you. It's going to have a full tank of gas with a plate on it. You can drive it. You can have a good time. And it just alleviates all that waiting around. So if I were a potential buyer, if I was suggesting to my friend, I would say, call ahead, try to develop a relationship with somebody. A lot of dealerships nowadays are actually leaving the bios of their salespeople online. So you can see, hey, this guy Jake at Porsche, he likes sports, or he likes talking about fishing, or whatever that case. You can have that bonding point where you can walk in and know that it's going to be a person you can relate to and have a good time with. So those are all things to check out.
I like that. Make an appointment. That way the sales guy is prepared. I found that whenever I buy stuff, and I'm a salesperson as well, when I sell stuff, having a relationship with the other person is a good thing, and you don't want to just make it a quick sale. You're trying to build a long-term relationship with this person, so you can be the family realtor in my case, you could be the family Porsche and Audi guy in the other case. And if you earn their trust and build a relationship with them and maybe follow them on social media, LinkedIn or whatever, I think that goes a long way. I mean, I feel a lot more comfortable buying something from somebody if I trust them.
Exactly. When you develop that relationship, I mean, it's almost like the car is the reason they're there, but you almost kind of forget that you're there for the car. There's some clients that walk in and you just kind of talk, they update you about their lives, you update them about your life. And then, if they buy something or if they're just in for service or whatever the case, it's just really good to see them. And I mean that honestly. I mean, we have very long days in the car business. Everybody knows that. So having someone that you're able to talk to, maybe even go out for lunch or have a cup of coffee with, it really changes somebody's day around. So, I mean, we are people too. I'm not as exposed to it as maybe a mass market dealership like a Nissan or a Chevy. If you are buying a Nissan or Chevy, congrats. You worked hard for that. Go enjoy it. But just realize that when you're working with a volume brand, you might not have as best of experience as if you were going for a luxury dealership. And usually with luxury, we're focused about that white glove experience. So again, to recap that, I would say make an appointment, call ahead, just introduce yourself, be 100% clear. Gone are the days where you have to kind of lie and embellish a little bit to get the best deal. Typically, if you're just being 100% honest, you're going to be able to get exactly what you want.
Right, and you nailed it. It is it's an experience when you buy any type of car, any price point. But when you buy a luxury or an exotic or something like that, it becomes a little bit more of a white glove experience, and the salespeople have less volume to deal with of people coming in and out all day long. So, super cool. So, with all the changes happening in the industry, what do you foresee in the future? And I say changes, I mean like Uber and Lyft and Toro and apartments and houses being sold with cars in them. How do you see that affecting your industry?
Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, right now in 2019, we have a lot of things happening, which people are calling the Uberification of their various industries, the Uberification of banking, of real estate, where you have things like Rocket Mortgage, or things along the lines of actual Uber, where you're able to call a car to your door and get to work. And a lot of the times the math adds up where if you're not driving more than 10,000 miles a year, you actually save money by getting an Uber. So if you live close to where you work at, a lot of people are actually getting out of their cars, walking to work, biking to work, and are moving back into the city. So for us as car salespeople, it's a little bit difficult to get that sale because it's not out of necessity, I should say. So really the paradigm becomes that white glove experience. Now with a brand like ours, with Porsche, again, it is a car that people are buying to have fun with. They're not buying it to get from point A to B. They are buying that car that they can enjoy getting from point A to point B, maybe go on a country road and really rip it and have a good time. So we don't see that problem happening right away. But still with companies like Toro, where you're able to rent a hypercar and enjoy it for a weekend in Vegas or a weekend in Pebble Beach, it's really changed the dynamic of how people are going about car shopping, where they're actually getting tastes of these vehicles before they even get into the dealership, and it's really decentralizing the dealership. So for our part, the best thing we can do is to have that white glove experience and to go above and beyond, where we're offering test drives to people's houses. We're trying to offer solutions for their particular lifestyle. Typically, when a customer comes in, I try to act like I'm a doctor making a diagnosis. I tell me, what are your symptoms? What are you looking to accomplish? And I try to make that diagnosis for their lifestyle. Typically, when I was at Audi, we had these wide lineups of cars, anywhere from an A3 all the way up to an A8L. Some customers would come in with these premeditated conclusions about what they wanted to purchase. And what I would do is I would sit them down and I would make a list of the things that they were buying that car for, and I would try to say, well, hey, what you told me, everything adds up. Looks like you're going to be trying to buy this particular vehicle. But sometimes you have people that are completely off of what they want based on what they need, and you have to move them to a different vehicle, and they like that new vehicle better than what they were. So right now, with everything going on, the best thing to do is, again, just trying to be more solutions-based and offering that white glove experience for going above and beyond. Having that relationship. Because you can buy a car through Carvana or, off of Uber or whatever the case may be. But really, ultimately, you want to have that person to go through guy where if you have a problem, you can call them right away and ask what's going on. You have that immediate point of contact. It's like buying a suit. It's like buying a house. If something's wrong, you want to have that agent of you that's able to represent you so you don't have to spend your time or your hard-earned money to go and make that problem right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And a lot of people may think we're just salespeople and they're never going to see us again. But until they need something, and then they email me and they're like, "Hey, I need the home warranty information from the house," and I'm like, here you go. Good thing I'm still around, or you didn't use
to spend an hour or 2 hours searching online to find the right place.
Right, or if you use a discount agent or like an Uber or whatever you're saying, you don't get the same library of information. And I'm telling you, it's so crazy. Ask any realtor. They want this when they sit down with us, and we end up closing on something totally opposite. Like they might want a freestanding home, and they end up getting a condo. It's like, you just never know. So you are like a therapist. You're like a guide dog, so to speak.
Right, and you see it all the time. I mean, you see people come in looking for an SUV, and they end up in a sports car because they see a color they like, and it just happens to, motivate them in the right way. And you're like, that's why dealerships exist, is because you can try on the, in theory, the different suits, the different, dresses, and see what fits you best, and see what color, you like, and go from there. And cars are no exception to that rule. I mean, people drive something, and it's just completely out of their expectations. But again, in the age of 2019, we like going online, typing, researching, and based on someone else's opinions, we start to formulate our own before we even get into the dealership. The same with houses, I would assume, would be the case as well. So for people like us, the ultimate thing is to go in there and make that diagnosis and see what's working best for that client.
Right, most definitely. So we all have our mentors or people we look up to or people that motivate us. I mean, other than myself, who are your people you look up to?
Well, to be honest, I am motivated by you because there are times when you're a little slow, and I see you out there. Hey, we're doing this, we're doing that, and I mean, iron sharpens iron, as the saying goes. That's always the case. But there really are two people that motivate me more than really anyone. One of those is Stefan Winkelmann. He is the former CEO of Lamborghini and the current CEO of Bugatti, and he's done a lot in his time with both brands. And he's actually more along the lines of a CEO that's a figurehead rather than a person that's more of a numbers guy. And through his vision, Lamborghini was able to take off and be a brand that really expanded over the past 10 years. He was briefly with Audi Sport, and when he was there, he released the new RS5, the new RS3, the new R8, and he did a great job with those cars. And now, as a fit for Bugatti, he's doing really well. The thing that motivates me, though, about him is the way that he has his style set up and the way that he has that certain panache to him. And when you look at Stefan Winkelmann, a lot of people respect him because of the way he carries himself and the way that he speaks to his brand about, certain enthusiasm, certain motivators that mean a lot to him. So I really respect the work that he's doing. He's probably my favorite person in the automotive industry right now. If I were to say a person that's outside of the automotive industry, one of my big motivators, it would actually be Gordon Ramsay, as funny as that is. The reason why I like Gordon Ramsay is because when he does these videos and when he does these cooking classes, he carries himself with so much enthusiasm and so much knowledge that no matter who you are, if you're a world-renowned chef or you're just a person cooking for your girlfriend that's coming over for Valentine's Day, you respect what he's doing. You respect the fact that he has the enthusiasm and the expertise because he's been around the world. And for a guy that's been doing this for 30 years, 40 years, you would think that he's getting tired of it. But every single video, he just tries to find a new way to get you to watch and to be enthused about it. So when I talk to my clients, I try to think of that, let's just say, Gordon Ramsay way of producing an experience or showcasing a product. So I would say those are my two quick people that really strike me the most.
I like that. I'm a Gordon Ramsay fan as well, and he carries himself with such confidence. And, he's pretty hard on a lot of people. What people don't understand is if you want to be successful at a career as an entrepreneur, a business owner, you can't just go easy on yourself. You can't just take the easy way out. You can't constantly make mistakes. And he's hard on people, and I think they may hate it at the time, but as they pass through and they get on there and like, it's a good thing. Just kind of like parents, actually.
Right. And the way that he, talked to his chefs or his clients, always very direct. Like instead of kind of stepping around the issue and saying, hey, your
Right.
salmon is not, I think it's all right, whatever it was. He just tells them right away, your salmon is not cooked right, go make another one. And I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people should take, advice from that, whether you're working at a car dealership or in real estate or whatever the case may be. You want to be direct as possible, just so there's no type of discussion about it or no type of gray area. And you and I are both, on the disc profile. We probably have hints of D on there, and we're very direct when it comes to things. And I think that it rubs people the wrong way at first, but they tend to like us and tend to want to work with us because we know that we go right to that goal and we try to get things done as efficiently as possible.
I agree. We're just trying to get the best out of people, and everybody has a different way of doing it. We like to cut through the fluff, so to speak, and just get right to the meat and potatoes and not waste time.
Exactly.
Super cool. So our favorite city, Pittsburgh, how does it fit into your marketing and your strategic goals for your brand?
Yeah, so I'll make this quick. The thing about the city of Pittsburgh that's really interesting to me is that we're still a city that's growing. We're a city that's expanding. And because of that, naturally, your clientele, your buyers, the people that have expendable income, are growing. So back in the day, Pittsburgh in the 90s, early 2000s was a very blue collar town, and it still is to this day. And there was not a lot of people that lived in the area with expendable income. So due to that, you never saw a lot of high-end dealerships like Ferrari, Lamborghini, or even a Porsche dealership. Our Porsche dealership has really kind of taken off in the last 5 years, 6 years. The earlier years, it was just kind of steady. It was more of a bespoke brand, and it wasn't really flying off the shelves as what it is today. Because of that, because of the city growing, we're becoming a tech town, we're becoming a medical community. A lot of people that have more external income are coming and expecting that little bit better of a car, a little bit nicer of a car. You're starting to see growth. But you're still seeing challenges where, say, for example, if you and I were to go to Atlanta right now, or if you or I were to go to DC right now, you would see a difference in culture. And that difference in culture is the way that they carry themselves, the way that they actually think about cars. I know, for example, if you're in Washington, D.C. or Atlanta, and you're considered a respected member of the community, you almost have to have a nice car. And if you don't have a nice car, you're almost clowned upon or you're kind of ostracized. In the city of Pittsburgh, it's kind of a positive, maybe sometimes a negative for me. But the positive is that people are very well off and they're very successful, and they really don't have that, let's just say, need to go out and buy that nice car. They're okay with driving a Subaru. They're okay with driving that Honda Odyssey. And it's not frowned upon because, again, Pittsburgh is a very blue-collar community. And you have these different cities out there where, again, if you're somebody or you're trying to be a mover and shaker, you have to have that nice car. So I think in the next 5 years or so, you're going to see that shift happen where people are starting to have nicer and nicer cars that represent themselves. And it's not a necessity, but again, at the dealership level, you don't see people that are coming in to get these cars out of necessity as you would in Atlanta or Washington, D.C., or even in Miami.
Right, totally agree. It's a stature thing in some bigger cities, and some smaller cities like Pittsburgh, it's not such a important factor.
Right, because people think that it's not really as important, right? And that's, again, it could be a very good thing because we're not a shallow culture here. We don't have a lot of people that are visiting from out of town, like cities that I just mentioned. But from my perspective as a marketing and kind of a strategy mindset, you have to almost kind of get people to get into the dealership and kind of pull them out of those old world traditions and try to, say, hey, this is a better product. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to have more fun. And to them, they've never really thought about that when they bought a car previously. These are never really things that they thought about. They thought about things out of utility rather than saying, hey, I want to actually have a car and treat myself.
Right. Yep. Couldn't agree more. So what's one thing that you're most excited about in the automotive sector?
So the one thing I'm probably most excited about right now is the electrification movement, but not because of these things. If you go back in time, Brian, you look at the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, you had these fantastically well-designed cars. Remember the old Cadillacs with the old tails on the back?
Oh, yeah.
And even some of the cars that were the boat tails back in the 30s. These really well-designed cars in and out. Some of the most beautiful cars of all time. And when you look at the 70s and even the 80s, we hit this wall where we were producing these cars that looked like bricks with, little styling, no type of soul or enthusiasm about them. And the reason that happened is because we were chasing fuel economy. So we were reducing the styling, reducing the weight to cut the expenditures on that. So these cars would have higher fuel economy. Now that we have electric returning, we're not going to have to worry about fuel economy as much. So you're going to start to see manufacturers incorporate more, grandiose designs in their cars again. We're going to start to see more individuality. more kind of personal touches on cars. And it's already kind of trickling through, especially with the lower brands like Nissan, Chevy, Hyundai. You're starting to see these really well-designed cars. And you're going to start to see it on luxury cars as well. Like Mercedes-Benz is doing a great job with their designs. Maybach is coming around. Rolls-Royce is coming around. Again, when you're going to start to incorporate electric element, that fuel economy necessity goes out the window, and you can go back to those really fantastic artisanal designs. So I'm excited to see that happen.
Absolutely. It is going to be pretty exciting, actually, for car guys and girls out there.
Right.
All right. Last question. If there is one impactful thing you could do on your industry, what would it be, and why would you do it?
That's a big question, and I would have to say it's the easiest one for a lot of us, for the client, and also for the person working at the dealership setting, is the price. So the one thing that's always really eluded me is the price negotiation. That's always been a thing. You know, if you were to go buy a washer and dryer, if you were to go buy some plywood, or if you're going to go buy some flooring, the price is the price. It's a set price. There's no variability to it. But when you go to buy a car, there's all kind of negotiation. There's room for haggling, all of that thing. So if I were to change it, I would say to just talk to the manufacturers, set up an agreement where every car is to be able to be sold at MSRP. And what it's going to do ultimately is protect resale value. It's going to protect a lot of the hassle that customers go through when they're buying a vehicle. And you're going to start to see people start to buy locally again. Where now I'm here in this area and I can actually get a car from Nebraska or a car from Omaha because they might have the best price and they're able to ship it to me here in Pittsburgh. And to me, at the dealership setting, it's unfortunate because when that client comes in, you kind of feel bad that they bought a car, you know, from a different area and they didn't come in and check you out just because they had the best price. And sometimes that best price is a matter of a few $100s or even maybe a matter of 10 or 20 bucks. They're all about principle. So when you eliminate that, you're going to start to see people buy locally, and they're going to have that direct correspondence with a local dealership. You're going to have someone that's able to have your needs met and a person that's local. Hey, that's Jake, that's my car guy. Or hey, that's Brian, that's my car guy. He's the person I trust, not the guy that's in Nebraska or the guy that's in Iowa that sold you the car. It's so difficult to maintain that white glove experience over state lines. And usually people are buying cars because of that best price scenario. Now on used cars, a different story, but I'm just saying on new car front, I would say that if we're able to level set that and have that fixed price, it's going to make things a lot better for the client and also for the dealership.
No, I agree totally. So in wrapping, my friend, tell the audience one embarrassing or funny fact about yourself.
One embarrassing or funny thing about myself. The one thing I would say that people don't know about me that I tend to be a little embarrassing for me is that back in college, I ran my own DJing business.
Nice.
And I was on the radio. So I've done a few weddings, I've done a few proms. Kind of felt like the wedding singer there, Adam Sandler, at a certain point. You know, some of the weddings I've done, you know, playing Earth, Wind, and Fire, and there I was, a 21-year-old guy playing Earth, Wind, and Fire. But that's always a funny thing I like to relate. But I enjoyed it. It was a great time in my life. Sometimes I miss DJing, but kind of glad that I got away from it at a certain point as well.
Oh, that is so funny. I can see if I buy a Porsche from you, I want you to deliver it with like a DJ kit or setup in the back somehow.
Right. Late night radio DJ voice. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, that concludes the interview, Jake. I appreciate you spending some time with me and, you know, spreading the knowledge. If anybody has any questions, you can put them in the comments below. If you need a Porsche, Audi, anything else, Jake?
No, we sell exotics of all kind. So if you're looking for a used Ferrari, Lamborghini, whatever the case may be, please let us know. There's a chance we can find it for you. You know, or I can get you connected with somebody that I know. It's a very referral-based business, as is real estate. So whatever be the case, let us know.
Right, Jake's just like me. I mean, if you need anything car-related, exotic or luxury car-related, reach out to Jake. If you have anything house-related, it doesn't matter if it's the entire world, bounce it off me first. We are both pillars of information and experience where we just want to make sure we get you to the right place. So, all right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. If you catch it on the rerun, make sure you drop a comment below. Thanks for joining in, everybody.
Appreciate it, Brian. Thank you so much.